Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MetaMask SDK and Linea React TypeScript workshop. Today, we're going to be cloning down a full stack React app that uses the MetaMask SDK for connecting to extension or mobile. We're going to be using Infura and Hardhat and Linea. My name is Bishard. I'm the Developer Relations Manager at MetaMask. You can find me on socials, Twitter, Telegram, GitHub, Lens, etc. at HTTP Junkie. My DMs are always open. I'm the DevRel also for MetaMask SDK and the MetaMask API. We also have a Snaps DevRel, Linea DevRel, Infura DevRel. So anything that you need, we have links that we'll cover in this presentation that link to all of our various DevRels. But let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be using the MetaMask SDK, and the easiest way to explain the SDK, especially if you're hacking in one of our hackathons and you want to kind of know what it does, at a very basic level, it connects you to MetaMask Mobile. Now, when you're using JavaScript or you're building a web application, then it also facilitates the connection to the MetaMask browser extension or MetaMask Mobile. And this is something that's not been very easy before, to be able to connect your web dApps to a mobile wallet. So we've done all the work needed. Our JavaScript SDK works across multiple platforms, and we also have React components and more to come soon, probably for other frameworks as well. But yeah, so let me go ahead and show you what the demo application looks like that we're going to be working with. Before we get to that, though, a few links. So the repo that we're going to be working with today is the first link on here, tinyurl.com/mm-sdk-linea. The second link here is to the slides that we're looking at right now. Also, we have a more in-depth Linea explainer if you want to know what Linea, this L2, if you want to know more about it than what we cover in this presentation, then my colleague Emily does a really good job, and I went ahead and put that link here as well. And we also have our docs at the bottom here. All right, so our agenda for today, we are going to show the demo app. That's what we're doing right now. We're going to review Linea very quickly, very briefly. Again, if you want to get a more full explainer, go to the third link here. We will also be reviewing the SDK basics, and then we will be taking this project, cloning it down, installing all the dependencies, configuring the environment variables, reviewing the different workspaces that are in it, and then building and deploying that application to Linea testnet. We'll also test out the front-end application so that you have a very whole view of how the MetaMask SDK works and why you might want to use it in many of its different forms. So we not only have SDKs for different platforms like JavaScript, Unity, you can build Electron apps with it, iOS, Android, but we're going to be focusing on JavaScript today for building web apps, specifically because a lot of our hackers and developers out there that are participating in our hackathons, this is one of our bounties along with Linea. So here's one video to explain all of it in a pretty brief amount of time. So let's go ahead and get started. So the demo application, what are we going to be playing around with today? It's a very basic application. The point of it is to kind of get all of the code out of your way and show you specifically how to incorporate Infura, Linea, and the MetaMask SDK into a basic React application. So that's what we do. This is what it looks like. You might be familiar with connect buttons that connect directly to the MetaMask extension. Kind of looks like the screen right here. If you click a connect button, you would get this pop-up to connect to MetaMask. Well, the SDK is a little bit different. What it does is it piggybacks off that ETH_request accounts call, that RPC call, and it displays this modal for you to where you can connect to desktop or mobile. So it gives your users the option. You know, maybe they don't have an extension installed. Maybe the extension that they have installed with MetaMask is like a developer version. It's not the one that they want to use for personal use. And maybe that one's on their phone. So it gives them that choice, and we think this is really great. We think it improves the UX. So that's why we've built it, and we'd like to get you to demo it, test it out. It's in kind of a developer preview right now, and hopefully it'll be kind of production soon, but we're already incorporating it into other packages like WAGMI and Web3 Onboard. We'll show you the Web3 Onboard version today, as well as a regular JavaScript version and some React components that you can use. So you can pick your flavor of the SDK that you want to use. All of them, though, from a web app look like this when the user connects. The application that we're going to be building is, again, very basic. The main page will have a fictitious event called ETHIndia, where you have the ability to connect to a wallet. It displays all the information about that wallet that you might want to your user. We also have tickets that you can mint. These are on-chain SVG NFT tickets. So we also have a contract associated with the project. So it's a full stack project. Here up at the top, you can see all of the navigation and profile kind of component for the MetaMask wallet and its state. You can determine whether your user is connected to extension or mobile. So we show you how to do that. We show them which chain they're connected to. If they're not connected to the chain that we've designated in the application, then we'll give you a switch button here to programmatically get them over onto the right chain. We show the address with a link out to a block explorer, and we show the balance of the user's wallet that they're currently connected to. Here you'll see the different tickets that you can buy. We have a general admission and a VIP. And then at the bottom, once you mint a ticket, we have a visual component that displays that ticket so that the user knows, hey, something happened. The minting of my ticket worked. I see it now on the page. And each of these NFTs are unique. Yeah, they're not the greatest design NFT in the world, but it is an example of an NFT where each one in some way is unique by either through color or through a token ID or ticket number on there, what kind of ticket it is, and it also displays the wallet address that purchased the ticket. So the way that the MetaMask SDK works, if someone has already connected before to your application, is it will determine that they've already connected to the extension and potentially connect them directly to it. Or it will allow them to connect to MetaMask Mobile. You can also pass an option into the SDK where that doesn't happen at all, and every time they click that connect button, they get a prompt for connecting to extension or mobile. This is the one I prefer, and I'm going to show you how to set this up in the project. I'll also show you the option where you can change that behavior if you'd like to as well. But just think of the SDK as anytime I have a connect button to a MetaMask wallet, my user gets the choice of connecting to the MetaMask extension, which we all know, and the MetaMask Mobile, which they might have as well. Next thing I want to go over is Linea. So what is Linea? Well, Linea is a L2 scaling solution. It's a type 2 ZK rollup. We use Linea for development of our contract in this project. Basically what an L2 is a separate blockchain layer that increases the transaction speed and throughput while partially deriving its security from the Ethereum EVM. So it pulls off that execution layer away from L1. And they rely on Ethereum for data availability, and they post their transaction data back onto L1 in a kind of roll-up fashion. Roll-ups are the most widely accepted implementation, and you have optimistic roll-ups like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base, and then you have ZK roll-ups like Linea, ZK Sync, Polygon, ZK EVM, Scroll, and Starknet. So what is that ZK EVM thing? So ZK EVM, or ZK, is a zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machine. So what it does is it executes smart contract transactions in a way that uses existing Ethereum infrastructure in a way that ZK proofs can understand. And it does that all underneath the hood, right? So it's nothing you really have to worry about. Just know that it's using that ZK proof underneath the hood. The way proofers work are by submitting programs that translate into math, which pulls out a Boolean, true or false. That's done by arithmetization, which is a difficult process, but this is difficult. We have kind of like 4 different types of ZK EVMs, right? So we have type 4s, which are high-level language equivalent. That's like your StarkNet, ZK Sync, and you might have to use a different tooling change. Hardhat might need its own plugin, right? You've got type 3, which are partially EVM equivalent, which means that you may or may not be able to use the same Solidity code as you've used, when deploying to another chain. But with a type 2, which is fully EVM equivalent, which is what Linea is, you have language equivalency. I can write in Solidity, and its bytecode is fully equivalent, fully compatible with existing applications, and as a dev, nothing really changes. No tooling changes, and all opcodes are recognized, with maybe exception of a couple that you probably don't use anyways. But I would say that Linea is, like 98% type 2, fully EVM equivalent. And as a developer, I've never run into any situations where like it doesn't have the proper opcodes that I need. So that's basic. Why build on Linea? So, the main reason for building and deploying on Linea is, to pass on the savings in gas and the things that a rollup provides to your end user, right? That's pretty much the reason. There's a great community around Linea, and it works really great with MetaMask. If you want more information on Linea, go see the L2 Linea explainer that I had in the links earlier, and check it out. So right before we get started with cloning down this repo and getting into the code, you should have a decent idea of what the MetaMask SDK does. Again, it facilitates that connection to extension or mobile. But here are a few links that I think are super important, especially if you're in one of our hackathons and submitting to either our MetaMask SDK or Linea Bounty. So first is the MetaMask SDK Developer Resources Guide. You can find that at tinyurl.com/SDK-guide. We also have the Linea L2 ZK rollup documentation. We have a developer portal, metamask.io/developer, which you can find lots of different content around MetaMask SDK, MetaMask Snaps, Linea, Infura, basically all of the content and all of the resources that our DevRels want you to find out there. It's all at your fingertips. Finally, we have our DevRel Telegram chat. So if you go to consensus.chat, the link for our chat is right there on top. There's also links on that page for getting testnet for Linea. So let's go ahead and get going with the demo. We're gonna move over to GitHub real quick and check out the first link that was on those links that we showed you above, right? So this first link up at top is going to take you to the repo where you can find the code for this demo that we're working with today, right? It's a React application, and it uses the MetaMask SDK, Infura, and Linea. So what we're going to want to do, if you're following along, is to copy the link to this repo. And then what we're going to do is we're going to git clone that into a directory somewhere on your computer. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Let's go ahead and make that bigger just so you can see this. Oh, I didn't know it was going to change the size of my window. There we go. That is not the link. Let me try this one more time. There we go. So we will clone down this repo, and that will put that into a directory called React-SDK-Linea-Workshop. So we'll change into that directory. and we will open up Visual Studio Code. Hopefully that's what most of you guys use. So you should be familiar. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I would say is to open up the README. The README is going to be the best place to start for this repo. You can follow along. You can watch this demo passively, this presentation passively, and then go home and open up this README, and you'll be able to walk through it just like we've walked through it here. The README starts off with some basic information around what we use in this demo as far as our kind of design choices and our technology choices. So we can kind of skip past all of that and start with step one. But I will tell you really quickly that this is a turbo repo. And what that means is it is a mono repo. It is an application, a full stack Web3 application that has two workspaces in it, a web workspace and a blockchain workspace. Turbo repo just allows me, as the person who created this, to allow you to go and pull it down from GitHub, run an npm installation from the root level of the directory, and I can give you commands to target these different workspaces so that it's all very easy to work with. So that's the choice behind that. Obviously, the choice behind TypeScript is because a lot of our packages have types. And why not show you like the most or the best way to set up your JavaScript code in a kind of production manner, and that is to use TypeScript. So the first thing it wants us to do is to clone down the repo and change directories into it. We've already done that. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back. We've already completed step one, and we really haven't done anything yet. Step two is to run npm install, and we're just going to run that here from the root directory. Like I said, since this is a turbo repo, it is going to go and install the packages at the web directory, the blockchain directory, and even at the root directory. The things that we're going to be doing next is we have these environment variable files in here, which we will need to, the web one's kind of already ready to go. So let's just copy that over into our web and just rename it to .env. I'm not going to rename the other one. I'm going to copy it and rename it so that if we change branches, I don't have to stash that. Cool. So let me explain this environment variable file really quick. So this is just pointing at the chain that we want the user to be on for our application. Now, some applications can support more than one chain. For this very simple demo, we are supporting one chain only. So if we deploy to Linea, I want this application to support Linea, and this is the hex version of the chain ID for that chain. For Mumbai, if we wanted to deploy to Mumbai, which I have scripts in here to help you to do that, then we would change this out for the Mumbai chain ID. But what's going to happen here is we have a config file in this application that basically, depending on what chain ID that is, it's going to have our contract address, block explorer, and all the information that we might need to get for that chain in our application. As well, if someone connects to our application from the wrong chain, let's say that they connect and their MetaMask or their MetaMask mobile is on Ethereum or some other chain, we have the ability with this functionality to programmatically switch them over. We can go over all that a little bit later. But basically, this environment variable is already set up for you. So we can close that one out. The next one that we need to set up is the blockchain environment variable. So if we take a look here, we'll see that we need an Infura key and a private key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this off screen because you should never be sharing your private key. We can also get rid of this terminal here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my Infura account and we'll go to dashboard. And don't worry, I'm going to delete this key as soon as I'm done with this demo, but I'm going to copy my key from Infura. Also know that if you have a free Infura account, you also can connect to a faucet here. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So let's go ahead and connect to the Linea faucet and get some ETH. Ooh, it's down right now. Well, even though it's down, what you could do, looks like the Sepolia faucet is up, and it's the same process as the Linea. So you can just copy, paste that in there, and it will give you 0.5 test ETH on that chain. Great, so that's done. We have ourselves some test ETH. We can go back to our dashboard, copy that API key again, and let's go ahead and plug that into our environment variable file. I also need to get my MetaMask private key and put it in that file, so I'm going to do that off screen. All right, so I've copied my private key into that file. I will go ahead and show you really quick how to do that in case you're not familiar with it. So what you would do is you would click on your MetaMask, go to the account that you want to get that private key for, and you would click on account details, and then you would need to click show private key, and that will get you your private key. Great. Step 3, create an Infura account. We've already done this. We've filled in our environment variable files, so we can skip down. I do go over just the Hardhat config here, which you can find right here. So you can see that we have Mumbai and Linea testnet, both set up as networks that we might want to deploy our contract to. We're just going to use this one in the presentation today, but know that in our package.json, we have scripts set up for deploying to either. If you wanted to make this application work with a chain other than one of these, then you would need to add that network here. You need to create a script for it, just like we have here. You would want to update your config file and then put the right code in here for that chain. You can find those codes on chainlist.org, and you just hit include testnets, or find the one that you want. You could do Linea, and you can see that here is our Linea testnet, as you see, OXE704, and that is exactly what we have here. All right, great. So we're moving along. We're talking about the deploying our contract. Let's take a really quick look at our contract. It's nothing special. You can go over this a little bit more on your own, but it's just it gives you the ability to mint an on-chain SVG NFT. You will see here that we have a total supply function. We've got a constructor. This wallet of owner, which lets you, this is basically a public function that you can call, pass in the user's wallet address, and find out what NFTs they've minted on this contract, which is useful, and I'll show you how we use that in our front-end application. You can also call contract URI, and more important, there is a token URI. So after you get those token IDs that the user has minted on this contract, you could then, for each one of them, call the token URI and get a representation of that SVG NFT returned back to you, which is exactly what we do. We have a mint NFT function. And we do a few requires here. We make sure that we're within the range of our max supply, that we haven't gone over our max supply, that the deadline for minting hasn't expired, and that they're paying either the VIP or general admission price for the ticket. Outside of that, it's just generating the NFT SVG and rendering it. The top and the bottom of that SVG. The rest of it is just the NFT and kind of how that SVG is put together. So you can check that out on your own. Cool. Next step, we've already logged into Infura and gotten some Linea test ETH, or at least I have some already in my wallet, so we're good to go. And now we want to run npm run build. So what this is going to do is it's going to basically make sure that there are no errors in my front end or contract code. So in the web workspace or the blockchain workspace, it's going to check all of the Solidity and TypeScript code and just make sure that everything looks good. Oh, we got an error. What's this? Okay, so I had paused the video for a moment there because the reason I was getting that error is because we hadn't created an environment variable for our blockchain directory. I had not copied this over. I put the values directly in the example file, and of course that's not going to work because it's not named correctly. So I moved the information from here over to an actual .env file, and now everything should work fine. So let's run npm run build, but hey, that's good to know. Like, it catches everything, even issues with your Hardhat config and your environment variable files. So, right, so because if the environment variable file didn't work correctly, then it won't be able to get the actual values it needs for connecting to your specific networks. That's what it had figured out and tipped me off that yeah, I had no environment variable file that it recognized. Cool. So we have run npm run build. Now you can do one of two things here. You can deploy to Linea testnet or you could deploy to Mumbai. We're going to deploy to Linea because, you know, I'm kind of biased. So at Linea also, if you didn't know, Linea is part of the consensus kind of umbrella. You know, they are a team that works directly with, you know, MetaMask, Infura, and all the different teams here at Consensus. So it is our L2, if you will. All right, so let's go ahead and run npm run deploy Linea testnet, and I'm just going to show you one thing that's going to happen here real quick. So this is, I've tried to do everything in this project that I could think that someone, another developer might want to do. Kind of all the little weird things that, like that Hardhat doesn't do for me that Truffle used to do. I don't use Truffle anymore. We've kind of sunsetted Truffle, so I use Hardhat all the time. And one thing that Hardhat doesn't do is whenever it builds out your artifacts, it does not give you a networks object inside of your ABI, your contract ABI. So what we're going to do instead is we have this deploy script that we've written that will basically, when it deploys our contract, it will output that into our config file, because if we had it in our ABI, what we could do is we could dynamically call it right here from contract address. We could import that ABI at the top of the file, and we could target the contract address because we know which chain that we're kind of connected to or that we've deployed to. But since we don't have that, when I run this command, it's going to input it right here, so we can watch it do that. Might take a second. There we go. And as you can see, the contract address has been put right here in our config.json. And if we were to deploy to Mumbai, it would also add that one right here. Cool. So we've deployed to Linea. We're almost at the point where we can run the application. Yeah, you don't have to do this because we wrote a script for it. I need to change that in the README. Note to self. At this point, we can run npm run dev testnet. So this is a script that is going to run our web application. It's going to know that we are running against Linea as a chain. It'll make sure that our users are connected to that chain. You know, one thing I also wanted to note is that we're in the main branch right now. And in the main branch, this is the regular JavaScript SDK from MetaMask, right? So I have to do a lot of things on my own with this package. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But understand that we also have a MetaMask React UI package, which you can basically just drop in a UI provider and a MetaMask button that will do all the things that I've had to do in this application. So this is kind of the easy way of doing things. This is like the harder, but I've got more control way of doing things. So one is at MetaMask SDK, and the other is at MetaMask /SDK-React-UI. The third option would be that if you want to connect to multiple wallets, you use Web3 Onboard. We'll get to that one in a few. So let's go ahead and check out, let's go ahead and run that command, run dev testnet. It's going to say, hey, you know, they're on Linea. It's going to configure the application so that the SDK is instantiated. It's ready to be used in conjunction with the connect button. And then I've created the connect button on my own. So there's some conditional rendering going on right now. Right now it knows Eric's not connected yet to this application, or the user's not connected yet to the application. And when I click connect to MetaMask, that's going to call ETH_request accounts. I think I might be connected with my mobile wallet. Let me just make sure that that's not the case real quick. Yeah, so that was the case. I was connected at the time. I had just been testing this before I started the video, so I was connected with my mobile wallet. So let's go ahead and test that we can connect to our mobile wallet. So one thing I'm going to show you real quick is that I am currently connected to the Ethereum chain. So if you can see that at the top there, up there, it says I'm connected to Ethereum. Now that's not the right chain that I need to be on for this application, but let's go ahead and connect anyways. So I'm just going to scan the QR code, and then you'll see that I get the prompt to connect to MetaMask here. And I'll go ahead and click that, and you'll see that I'm now connected to the dApp, and everything shows up. Look, here's my address. I don't have enough ETH for it to actually show up here. I've got so little ETH, 0.00006 ETH. So that's why it's showing 00. But notice that it says switch chain, right? So what we have in this version is that we have this hook called use switch network, which determines whether or not we're on the right network or not. And if we're not, it will serve up, well, this will be used with our component switch network. And yeah, it will give us a button that allows us to programmatically switch the user over onto the right chain. And the way that that's done is with this try catch. Basically, we do a Ethereum.request for wallet switch Ethereum chain. And then if there's an error, we will do add Ethereum chain because the chain has not been added to the wallet. So it kind of does either or, depending on what state the user's wallet is in. Do they have the chain or not? If they already have the chain, we just want to connect them. If they don't have the chain, we want to add it and then connect them. And this piece of code right here will work for extension and mobile. Sometimes you can get away with just doing the switch Ethereum chain on extension, but if your users are connecting to extension and mobile, you want to do this full try catch here. Okay. Awesome. So now we are connected. We can hit the switch chain button to get us back onto the right chain. And you'll notice that it'll say, hey, do you want to switch network? Yes, I do. There you go there. Yeah, now it's updated. And notice how all of this is kind of reacting, right? So anything that happens with my wallet, whether it's on mobile or extension, anytime the balance changes, the chain changes, the address changes, anytime any of that stuff changes, my application is reacting immediately to it. And the reason is because I have a hook set up. This is a MetaMask provider. If you're new to React, a context provider is a way of kind of managing global state within your application. And I am managing the wallet state here. It's a lot of code. It's over 200 lines of code, which has functions to connect to MetaMask, to instantiate the SDK, to watch all of the various events coming from the wallet. That's how we keep our state updated with our application. But this is a lot of work, right? Doing all this work, writing all this code took me and actually someone else quite a while to get it all right. Make sure it all is written in TypeScript. And then beyond that, we have a navigation. So I'm not showing you this stuff to move you away from using the regular MetaMask SDK, the JavaScript one, which is right here. In fact, I like this option. I like having full control over what my navigation looks like and having all the control over this. But some people might just want to pull in that provider that they don't have to write and pull in a button that does all this conditional rendering right here. Like if the user hasn't connected yet, show them a Connect MetaMask button. If they have connected, then show them all of these other various buttons and do all the programming for it. That's 250 lines of code. And believe me, it's not like a 30-minute task to write all of this. So we'll be switching over to another branch where I remove having to do any of this, where you don't have to do any of that stuff. And you can just drop in, you can import a MetaMask React UI component package that will give you a component that is this kind of like this context provider. And then it'll give you a component that is this navigation, all this navigation stuff. It'll look different. It'll kind of behave a little bit differently, but it's a quick way to get a MetaMask connection into your React application. All right, so we're testing things out here. If I were to disconnect and then connect again, so what that just did is it disconnected me from my MetaMask mobile wallet. And now I'm going to connect to desktop instead. So instead of connecting to MetaMask Mobile, let's connect to the desktop because I want to show you a few other things. Again, this branch has everything that you need to have full control over how you work with the MetaMask wallet. It's all really good stuff to learn. So I want to spend a little bit more time on this one than we do the other ones, even though the other ones show the easier way of doing it. So let's connect to two different accounts because we can do that with MetaMask extension. And let's do something like this. Let's go ahead and change the chain real quick. So we'll go from Linea, we'll go to Ethereum. Notice we get the switch chain button. We click it. It switches us back to the network. Cool, so that works. What happens if I go in here and manually change the account to another one? Right? So you can see that my address is updated here and the amount of ETH that I have is updated here, right? So all of that is taken care of through that MetaMask context provider that I was just showing you that had that, that almost 200 lines of code. Let's see, what else can we do? We can just completely disconnect ourselves. So let's just go ahead and disconnect from both of these. So look, I disconnected from the one we were connected to, and now it's switched back over to the other one. And then let's disconnect from that one also. Let's disconnect from this. Oops. Yeah, disconnect. All right, so now we're not connected to either of them, right? And boom, we're back to the connect to MetaMask button, right? So that's a lot of work to get all of that stuff to work correctly, to get your wallet state in sync with your React application. So let's go ahead and connect back up again real quick. Now that we've seen how all of that works, and let's mint a ticket. Let's make sure that the contract we've deployed, that we can actually hit the contract mint function and mint a ticket. And then I'll show you how that minting page works as well. So right when this is done, notice I can't click on that until it's done minting. And now I've got an NFT here. Let me do one other thing real quick. Let's just delete this here. I don't know why the picture's not showing up there. Maybe it's because I'm on a test net. But so let's say that my user doesn't have, the NFT in their wallet. Like they just added an NFT and it's not in the wallet, right? So we have this add NFT button that if you click on it, will add the NFT to the wallet, just like you can do with adding a token to someone's wallet, right? A token that they don't have. So that's using the wallet_watch asset RPC API from the MetaMask API. So that's a little a little extra piece of the MetaMask API that you may not know about. It used to only be able to do that with tokens. Now it can do it with NFTs as well. So let's go take a look at those pages really quick. If you want to see how the tickets work, you can open up tickets and tickets owned. So tickets is the top part. It is this section up here. And the tickets owned is this section down here. So what we are doing with the tickets is basically we are using ethers to get a browser provider. We're passing in window.ethereum. We're getting a provider. So we're getting a provider and we're getting a signer here. And then that gives us the ability to create a new ethers contract, which we can pass the chain ID and contract address, our ABI and our signer into it. And we're gonna call it ETH tickets. And then from that, the name we called it was NFT tickets. We can do NFT tickets.mint NFT or any other, we could do any other function on this contract. So if we go back and look at our contract again real quick, we'll see that mint NFT is one of our public functions, but we could also call these other ones too. We could call wallet of owner. We could call token, where is it? We could call token URI. So let's go back and take a look at that really quickly. So if we go back to tickets, so you see how we call that NFT function, and it takes a wallet address and a price for the ticket. And then what we want to do is we want to await that transaction. And then we're doing some very basic state management in our component here. And we're just setting whether minting is false or true. That's how we're able to disable that button so that someone can't click it again until the minting is finished. And then we just have our tickets listed out here, which is the two different tickets that we have. Next we have tickets owned, and here you can see what's happening is we're creating a piece of state locally on this component that's called ticket collection. That's that add NFT function. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But we need to get a list of those tickets, right? We want to be able to show them at the bottom as they mint one, right? So let's go ahead and just mint another one real quick while we're looking at this. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then when that's done, you'll see another one pop up here. And the way that we're doing that is we have this function called wallet of owner. And what we're doing here is this is an async function that is called from our use effect, right? So basically when this page loads, when this component loads, wallet of owner is going to be called whenever the component loads, whenever it dismounts, or when wallet address mint has happened, the chain has changed, or the SDK has connected. So in any of those scenarios, it's going to run this again. It's going to call into the contract. It's going to get those token IDs. And then once it gets the token IDs, that's right here. It's going to call wallet of owner, pass in the address. It's going to get those token IDs. Those are going to be here, owned tickets. We're going to map over them, and we're going to basically create an NFT for each one. We're going to get this NFT data back, but we're going to push all of those tickets into tickets retrieved. At that point, we are going to set our ticket collection. And basically the way that this works is we have this list of tickets will then map over that ticket collection and create a button, an image of the NFT and a button for each one of them. I hope that made sense. I tried to do it as quickly as possible, but also give you all the details. So we'll also see here that now we have both of these tickets. I'm going to hit add NFT again, and we can add it. Of course, you should see the actual NFT there instead of a blank thing. I don't know why that's happening. Again, it might be that we're on testnet, but I don't think so. It's just weird. So here's both of our NFT tickets, and yeah, so that's all the functionality of this main branch, and you notice there's kind of a lot going on. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to kind of, knowing how this whole application is put together, right? And we've also kind of tested all of these things too, right? We've connected multiple accounts, we've changed the chain, we've minted a ticket, we've added the NFT to MetaMask. We've disconnected from both accounts, disabled. I haven't disabled MetaMask browser extension yet, but if I were to disable MetaMask, so where it appears as if I don't have a MetaMask extension in my browser, then when you click, let's see here. When you click connect to MetaMask, instead of connecting with MetaMask extension right here, it would give you a link to download MetaMask. But your user could also just switch right over to mobile and connect with their mobile instead if they wanted to. All right, cool. Next thing we want to do is we want to get off this branch. And we should just be able to, I think if we just stash our config file, let's go ahead and stash this. We'll call it config or config, whatever. And then from our terminal, what we'll do is we will do git checkout add. It's called add React UI components, right? So imagine what we're doing is, instead of setting up all of that context provider and the conditional rendering of the button and all that kind of stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to instead of installing the regular MetaMask SDK, we're going to install a cheat code, MetaMask SDK-React-UI. So if you notice, now that we've switched over, if we go to the web directory and look at package.json, did we not switch over? Oh, we didn't get it right. Let's see, add React components. There, now we've switched over. Now you'll notice that in our, this just changed from at MetaMask SDK to at MetaMask SDK-React UI. Now this package has a context provider and a button in it that we can use that will replace that, 250 lines of code that we had before. But know that this package actually uses the MetaMask SDK inside of it. So it's actually installing that package for you and some components. But you don't really have to manage any of that. All that you have to do is go into the app.tsx. Well, let's do an npm install first, because we now have different packages set up in our project than before. All right, there we go. Now all of our little red lines have gone away. So all that you would have to do, instead of setting up all of that crazy code that we saw before, is you would need to import the MetaMask UI provider. And this React UI kit kind of, it comes with WAGMI installed. So what I've also done is I've configured chains for WAGMI. I've imported the Linea testnet from the WAGMI core chains, and I've also pulled in the JSON RPC provider from WAGMI providers. Okay, so but I'm showing you how to do it all here. But all you really have to do is set up this, set up the chains. Tell it that Linea testnet is going to be one of the chains that we're using. You could do multiple here if you wanted to, but this application only works with one. And then what we have here is the SDK options. So before, this was buried in that large MetaMask hook that we had, which was the context provider. So this was buried in that code where we instantiated the SDK. You don't have to instantiate the SDK with this version, with this package. All you have to do is import it and then set up the SDK options. The networks is even optional, so you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I do it because I want I want to be able to specify a certain chain in our active networks tab, which we'll see in a moment. But you could just pass in these SDK options and go to town with a very simple connect button. So of course you have to add this line of code here, this line of code at the very least. If you want to add chains, you need to add this code with these imports. And that's all. That's all. And what this, since our MetaMask UI provider wraps our navigation, then we can go into our navigation component and simply import this MetaMask button, and shit'll just work. All right. So let's go ahead and check it out. So let's go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and unstash our changes so we can get our config file back, because we've already deployed the contract. I don't really want to deploy it again. So let's do pop stash and select that one. So now we've got our config file back, and now we can run npm run dev testnet, and our environment variable files are still there, because remember, environment variable files are hidden because they have sensitive information in them. Therefore, they never disappeared when we changed branches. So we'll run npm run dev testnet. We can now open our application back up. And one thing I want to do really quickly is I just want to make sure that there is no previous cookies set up here or anything, or local storage stuff set up. We want to hit this as if we were a user hitting this application for the first time. So let's do a hard refresh. And this is what your users would see, right? So instead of what we had before, the connect button looks a little bit different, but that's because we're getting what they've designed for us in this package. And if I hit connect here, look, we get the same modal, right? Same effect here. And let's go ahead and connect to desktop just because it's a little bit easier. But remember that the whole reason for the SDK is to connect people to mobile from a dApp. Like, that's the cool thing. We're going to use the desktop just for a moment so we can see how everything looks, right? So we've connected back with that same wallet. Let's just test some of this out. Let's make sure it works here. So if I disconnect, right? Yep. Now I've got the connect wallet again. I do a refresh. I get the connect button again. I connect. What happened here? Oh, it's trying to pop up. There we go. So we'll click next, connect. Okay, cool. So all of that works. It's a little bit weird. That didn't change over. Sometimes that happens. Okay, but here is our button. Once we've connected, you can see the amount of ETH that I have. That's my testnet ETH. You can see my address. If you can copy the address, and then you can, let's say that we're connected to the wrong chain. So let's try that real quick. So let's connect to Ethereum. And then from here, what you can do is you can, now they have Linea Building testnet here, so we can click back on that one. It'll programmatically switch them back over. Yeah, so we have some of the same functionality. Again, you can see why I like doing everything myself, kind of the hard way, the more kind of custom way. And we're working on this component too. Like, there's going to be a lot of extra features to it. You'll be able to get that button that, automatically switches them back over. All of that is available and coming up. But yeah, like, you drop this in, notice that we no longer have that hook anymore. We do have a hook here, but all this hook does is takes care of some very basic application state rather than kind of all of our wallet state, right? We didn't have to do any of that wallet state syncing on our own. It was all done for us by this MetaMask UI provider. And then all of that kind of navigation, button switching and stuff that was happening here, it's just one button. All right, so with the since we're kind of limited on time, I'm trying to get this done under 1 hour. Let's go ahead and move on to the other branch, which I can show you if you are wanting to use Web3 onboard. This gives you the ability to connect to multiple wallets, right? So this is going to be 2 packages that you need to install: the Web3 onboard React and the Web3 onboard MetaMask. And what this allows you to do is to use Web3 Onboard. It's kind of like WAGMI or Web3 React, in which it allows you to connect to multiple wallets. We're also integrating with those other products, but this is the one that we have currently integrated with first, and the other ones will be following. But yeah, it gives you, instead of just being able to connect to MetaMask with our SDK or with our SDK React components, this gives you the ability to connect to many different wallets. And when they click the MetaMask button, it gives you the option of connecting to extension or mobile using our SDK. So let's go ahead and switch our branch over. Again, we will stash this config file. So let's go ahead and do that again real quick. And then we'll go ahead and switch branches. And since we've kind of gone over the rest of the application, I'll just show you the points that you need to know in the app.tsx page on how to set up the integration with the Web3 onboard. So we'll do git checkout add Web3 onboard. And yeah, notice that in our repo here, there's only 3 branches, right? There's main, which is like, hey, custom, do it all yourself, MetaMask JavaScript SDK. We've got the React UI components, which is the one that we just did. This one gives you the context provider and the button, so that you don't have to do all the custom stuff, right? And then you have add Web3 onboard. This is like, hey, I need to connect my users to potentially multiple wallets. Yeah, a lot of them connect with MetaMask, but they might also want to connect with something else. So there's 3 branches here that you can explore, and each of them we go through and show you how to set everything up with the MetaMask SDK. So let's take a look at, let's first do an npm install, and let's take a look at our package.json, because that's where things are going to be a little bit different here. So you'll see we have Web3 onboard MetaMask and Web3 onboard React. Makes sense. If you're going to use the MetaMask one, right now you need to be using the alpha and whatever the highest version of the alpha is. So if you go here, you can click on 10 versions and you can see like whatever this highest alpha is, actually, yeah, 2.02.alpha 3, and we've got 2.02.alpha 3. So we're on the latest one. And what we want to do here is check out our app.tsx file, right? So it's going to be very, very similar to the things that we've done before, right? So we have Web3 onboard provider and an init function that we're pulling in from Web3 onboard React. And then we are importing the MetaMask SDK from the Web3 onboard MetaMask. We are setting up a very basic object, which tells it, this is just kind of like our config file, right? But we're doing it here instead because with this package, it kind of handles all the chains and everything on its own. And I'll show you that in just a moment. It's pretty slick. But we need to give it an object which is has all the ID, the token, the label, and the RPC URL for the Linea testnet. Then we have our SDK options, same options that we've been passing in from before, so nothing really changes there. And then we create this MetaMask SDK wallet, which we can pass into their wallets array. And then we call this a init function. We pass in the wallets we want. You could also check out on Web3 onboard how to add additional wallets here. So yeah, like I guess if you wanted to do Ravi Wallet or Rainbow Kit or Rainbow Wallet or whatever, all of those are available. We then pass in our chains, which is coming from here. So chains, you can also set up multiple chains. We only have Ethereum Linea set up, but again, no big deal. You can have as many wallets and as many chains that they support in there. And then some basic app metadata. This is nothing, this is very basic stuff. We set up a Web3 onboard provider. Are you noticing a pattern here? Like all of these things need some type of a provider so that they can continuously sync the wallet state with the app state. The great thing about our main branch is we show you how to do all that on your own, or give you a good example of how to do it. With these other packages, these other 2 examples, they do it all for you. And then with that, the only thing we need to do is on our navigation page, we are either setting up yeah, so I have a connect and a disconnect button. But on the Web3 onboard site, they have some demo applications you can download, and you can get, there's a ton of other things that you can do with Web3 onboard. One thing I will note is that in this branch, I have deactivated a lot of the tickets and tickets owned stuff, just because the way of working with this wallet and working with the connected wallet is a little bit different, and I haven't had time to set all that up. This is a very, very new integration that we have with Web3 onboard. So I've just stuck to showing you what you need to do in the app.tsx file and the navigation file. But I did go on to the display page here, and I added some very basic wallet information as a component so that you could see like how to get at that connected chain, how to get at the address, how to get at the balance, how to potentially get at the ENS if there's one available for that wallet, and all that kind of stuff. So this still has enough information for you to get started with Web3 onboard and MetaMask SDK. Yeah, and so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and run npm run dev testnet and get our application up and running. And we should go back over here and we'll do a refresh. And notice here's the little connect button that I've created. So when I click this connect button, things look different, right? But no worries. It has the MetaMask wallet that we've asked it to provide. If you pass in more wallets, those will all be listed out here. And when you click on MetaMask, now you get that MetaMask modal that you're used to. And if we connect, we can see we've connected to one of our accounts here. And now we've got some of that information spitting out on the page here. And we have this down here, right? So we can disconnect from it and connect again. But this is a nice little modal that pops up that kind of manages your wallet. And notice that it's only got one option here for current network. So if we were to go in here and to change this over to like Ethereum, right? It shows that we're connected to Ethereum mainnet. We might want to do some different conditional rendering here to switch them back to the right chain or something. But they've also got that here. So we can see that current network is Ethereum. And if we pull this drop down, we can see that there's another option here, Linea testnet, and that'll switch us right back over to Linea testnet. Again, with either the React UI or this solution here, you might want to do something with the buttons up here where if they're not on the right chain, you give them a button that will use the, those two RPC, the try catch that I showed you before, that will, either add the proper chain and or switch them over to that chain. But notice that this does that for you as well. And since we've passed in Linea as a chain, the only chains it will ever display here is the one that you're connected to and the one that we've passed in. That's why when we switched over to another chain, let's even just go to let's go to something different here. Let's go to Mumbai, right? Now it's going to see, and I don't know why it says unrecognized, but it still only shows Linea testnet here and the one that you're connected to, and it'll switch you back over. So that is it for the workshop. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some insight into how to use the MetaMask SDK. I hope you learned a little bit about Linea. Infura, it's just basic stuff. We're just using Infura to connect to a node, but hopefully you've seen these three different flavors that we have for connecting to the MetaMask SDK, which is kind of the do-it-yourself, have all the control. I really like that one. The React UI component, it's great, especially if you're only connecting to MetaMask, or if you're maybe building your own kind of like multi-wallet thing, like you could use that as well. That's what Web3 Onboard has done. They've kind of incorporated our wallet and our button into their own multi-wallet connection package. Or you can choose to use add Web3 Onboard, and very soon there will be a fourth and potentially fifth branch in here, which is WAGMI and Web3 React, so that you have multiple options if you want to connect to more than just one wallet, right? We don't care. We know that users are potentially going to need to connect to other wallets, and we want to integrate with these other frameworks to make it easy as possible for you to give your users the ability to connect to Extension or MetaMask Mobile. So with that said, thank you very much for joining the workshop. I will leave you on this slide right here so you can see some of those, so that you can see some of the links that we had. And yeah, thank you so much. And I hope to see some of you out at our hackathons and hacking on our Linea and SDK bounties and Snaps bounties. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Eric Bishard at HTTP Junkie on Twitter, Telegram, GitHub, everywhere. Thank you so much.